The wind rolled low across the mesa, pushing dust through the dying. Light as if the land itself were, whispering secrets it didn't trust. To keep till morning, she came riding out of that haze like a ghost, who'd finally decided to live. Again, coat torn, hat pulled low, eyes sharp enough to split stone. No one in the small town of Dry Creek had seen her in years. They said she'd run off after her father lost the ranch, after everything she'd ever believed in turned to smoke. But the cowboy leaning on the hitch rail outside the saloon didn't move a muscle when he saw her. His name was Cole Harding, a man who'd buried more mistakes than he'd confessed, and he knew right away that this woman carried the kind of silence only hard seasons can teach. When she swung down from the saddle, her boots hit the ground like a challenge. "You always this calm when ghosts come home?" she asked. Cole's eyes lifted slow and steady. "Only when they look like they mean business." Inside the saloon, the piano faltered to a stop. Folks whispered about the debt her father owed, the land the bank stole, and the rancher who'd bought it for pennies, a man named Doyle, mean enough to make the desert seem kind. She didn't flinch at the stares. She just looked at Cole and said she needed a place to stay. He offered his spare room without a question. He didn't owe her anything. He just saw a storm brewing and knew he couldn't walk away. That night, as the oil lamp burned low, she sat by the window staring at the emptiness outside. "People think I came back for revenge," she said quietly. "Maybe they're right." Cole didn't answer right away. "You came back because this land still remembers you," he said. "And because you're not the kind to beg anyone for what's yours." Her eyes flashed, with something between pain and pride. "You think I'm here for your help?" she asked, half smiling. "No," he said, voice like gravel. "I think you're here because you don't need it." Over the next days, they rebuilt fences on what little ground he still owned. She worked harder than any hand he'd ever seen. Never complained, never asked for rest. Rumors spread that Doyle had sent men to warn her off. But she met them at the gate and stared them down till they turned their horses. Each evening, as the sun bled into the canyon, Cole would find her sitting alone, eyes on the horizon, waiting for something she wouldn't name. He admired her quiet strength, the way she carried pain without letting it own her. One night, thunder rolled in from the west, and she finally spoke of what she'd lost. Her father's pride, her mother's grave on stolen soil, the years spent running from a memory that refused to die. Cole listened without judgment. When she finished, she said, almost to herself, "You probably think I came back for the land, or for you." Cole looked at her, rain streaking the window behind them. "No," he said softly. "You came back because you're done letting anyone take what's right." She turned toward him, eyes wet but fierce. "You want me for my story, not my scars?" she asked. He shook his head. "I want you because you don't beg. You fight." Outside, lightning tore the sky in half. She smiled then, first time since she'd returned, and something in the air shifted. They both knew that what waited ahead wouldn't be easy. Doyle's greed, the town's judgment, the long road toward justice. But for the first time in years, Dry Creek felt alive again. The land had found two souls stubborn enough to stand their ground. And as the storm passed and the coyotes began to sing, the cowboy and the woman watched the horizon with the same quiet promise. Neither would bow, neither would break. Dawn broke over Dry Creek like a promise wrapped in gold dust. And for the first time in years, the sound of horses echoed down the ridge with purpose. The woman who once rode into town a stranger now stood beside Cole Harding at the corral, their faces turned toward the ranch that used to bear her family's brand. The fences were still broken, the barn roof sagging, but her eyes, steady and sharp, saw more than ruin. She saw roots. She saw home. Word had spread fast that Doyle's men were riding in to settle things, as they called it. But this time no one in town planned to look away. The barkeep from the saloon, the blacksmith with one good arm, even a few drifters who'd once worked for her father, all came at sunrise, rifles slung not for blood but for truth. Cole stood among them, calm and grounded, the kind of man who didn't raise his voice to prove his strength. "You don't fight for pride," he said to her quietly. "You fight because the land remembers who loved it." She nodded once, her hat shadowing her face as the first riders crested the hill. Doyle was there, sitting tall on a chestnut stallion, eyes narrow as coins, his smirk sharp enough to cut leather. He called out across the field, voice slick with arrogance, You think a handful of broken ranch hands can stand against me? You're trespassing, girl. She stepped forward, her boots sinking into the dust, her voice clear enough to carry across the wind. You can't trespass on what's already yours. My father died building this land, and I'm not leaving it to rot under your greed. The tension cracked like a whip. For a long moment, no one moved. Then Doyle laughed, a bitter, hollow sound that echoed through the valley. You really think courage changes deeds and titles, he said. Courage doesn't, Cole answered, stepping beside her. But truth does, behind him. The townsfolk stood straighter, forming a wall of will the wind couldn't break. Doyle's men shifted uneasily. Their leader's confidence began to thin. He tried one last threat, but before he could finish, the old sheriff, long retired and forgotten, rode in from the road. He carried an envelope sealed with the state's insignia. It's over, the sheriff said, voice tired but firm. Court ruled this land was taken by fraud. He'd go,